You are listening to Get Real Podcast.
So for me, coming out of the desert, one of the things that's become more and more apparent to me is the sovereignty of God. And seeing that every day. You see it more and more when you become more aware of it. Sometimes you have to look back and be like, oh yeah, I see where God was sovereign in that. But sometimes it's right there in your face. And one of the things that became so apparent with God's sovereignty is when I went to Florida.
That was a good trip.
It was wow, what a trip. That was a trip that I wasn't even thinking about going on and had no idea where the money was going to come from. And I've shared that with our listeners before, and I got a bonus at work that allowed that trip to happen. And we got down there, and despite the tropical storm that hit the night before, it happened. And the fruit that came out of that trip, it wasn't exactly the fruit that I was expecting when I went down there, but the fruit has just been amazing. And I had the opportunity to meet two very wonderful people, Jessica and Javier Pons, while we were in line waiting to get into the venue in the VIP line to go meet Delane, Amorphous, and Annika. And this is one of those days that I am very appreciative of my mother's advice to wear clean clothes and look nice, because you never know who you're going to meet. I was standing there, I was interviewing people for the podcast, and I started to interview Jessica and Javier, and it was Jess and Javier. They said to me, hey, we have a band too. I was like, okay. And I get that a lot, like, hey, I got a band. And sometimes it's like, whatever. That's nice. Okay.
Wild style.
Yeah. So they gave me their card, their download card, and I checked out their band, and my mouth just dropped to the floor. I was like, I had no idea this is who I was talking to in line. And just when I was with them, I was like, there's something different about them. There's just really something different. There was a resonance. I'm going to use that word. There was a resonance. So I want to share that resonance with our listeners today. And some of you have probably already heard Jessica in the background. We have Jessica and Javier Pons on the line from the band Red Calling. Guys, welcome to the Get Real Podcast.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, what's up? How are you guys?
Doing good. We are quarantined in our studio right now. We've got
We all are.
This is crazy. This is very crazy.
The world is insane. So the good news for us, though, is that people, while they're home, not at work, they can binge on the Get Real Podcast and find out about Red Calling and listen to Red Calling all day and all night. So how are you guys doing? How are you guys doing down there in Florida?
Man, it's crazy, man. I went to the grocery store this morning and people are going nuts.
What?
Yeah.
Were they out of toilet paper?
We are out of toilet paper. We got some at the house. Yeah. Whoever comes up with the best comment for this video or podcast gets a free roll.
Free roll of toilet paper.
So a very nice giveaway.
I am going to have to run to the bathroom real quick and sneak one out and stick it in the prize closet so my wife doesn't find it. So reserved. That's what we'll do. Yeah. Best title for this
giveaway.
The toilet paper giveaway. Whoever, and you can email us at lithoscry, LITHOSCRY @gmail.com for a free roll of toilet paper.
Yeah, on the previous podcast, Glenn and I were kind of going through all the different spiritual and human psychological dynamics that would produce the great toilet paper panic. I don't think that's going to save you from the coronavirus.
Well, it could be the anxiety ups the IBS a little bit. I don't know. I really don't know. Guys, I mean, it's been since October since I've talked to you. We've been messaging back and forth, and it's just been wonderful to see what God's been doing in your lives and what's been unfolding there. But for our listeners who are not familiar with Red Calling, but will be by the end of this podcast, can you describe to our listeners your style of music?
Yeah, we're basically a hard rock band. We have a lot of metal influences, even electronic elements from different bands we like. But it's basically hard rock.
We are a very diverse band. Like, all of us have different taste in music, so which is a good thing because everybody brings something different to the table. So like she said, we go from hard rock to electronic music. We have some songs that are super heavy. Then then the next song might be something soft and electronic, or we just don't like to repeat the same song twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, you like to add the diversity there. So, talking about influences and different musical genres that you all like, Javier, I really see you as a Barry Manilow fan. Am I correct in that, or am I off the mark?
No, man, you got it absolutely right, man.
So, who are some of your influences, and what kind of music do you like?
Man, I'm a '90s kid, man. Like, I grew up listening to Korn. That's my biggest influence. Even though we try not to sound like any other band out there, but I'm not gonna hide the fact that they were a big influence, growing up. So anything heavy from the '90s, Korn, I listened to a lot of Deftones. And as far as newer bands, dude, there's this band that I like. I mean, they're not new, but they're a bit newer. They're called Architects, and they are just amazing. So, those are some of my influences.
How about you, Jess?
Oh, well, I'm a 90s kid too, but I listened more like melodic stuff. I used to be a huge fan of Radiohead.
Okay.
So all the melodic stuff you hear in our music, it's heavily influenced by them. The electronic elements as well. I love Lacuna Coil. They're from Italy. They're a great metal band. Linkin Park. Our drummer, he's a huge fan of Alter Bridge. We like Trice. They're a pretty cool band as well. Those are basically the bands that have influenced our music.
I've been a big Lacuna Coil fan for many years now. Their music is just amazing.
Amazing, yeah. And she's, I got the chance to meet her
wow.
2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago in Orlando. She's so down to earth. She's so humble. I even took a picture with her. She's a really cool person.
That is really neat. They've made their way to Charleston, South Carolina, here at the Music Farm.
Everyone lost.
I know. Every once in a while in Charleston, South Carolina, you'll get a good band, a really good band that comes through. And it was neat for me because that was the time that I was basically in the spiritual desert, and I was listening to a lot of Lacuna Coil, and I was in the gym working out, and I heard a radio ad that Lacuna Coil was going to be playing at the Music Farm in Charleston. I was like, I am so there.
Did you go?
Yes, I did. I was there. They opened for All That Remains. And that was
nice.
Oh, what a show! And then
that must have been a good show.
Oh,
and that's a small venue. That's an intimate.
a very intimate venue. It was awesome. And then I saw them again in Myrtle Beach, which is about 2 hours away from here.
Yeah.
Saw them at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach, and they opened up for Five Finger Death Punch. Every time I've seen Lacuna Coil, just the energy that they bring on the stage, it's just been absolutely phenomenal. And then they played at Rockfest here in Charleston, the 98 Rockfest. They were one of the primary bands, and I was just totally blown away. Every time they put on a performance, she seems like just a really, really down-to-earth, nice lady.
Yes,
really nice.
Yeah, she is.
We do these interviews, and a lot of the bands I'd say 90% of the bands that we've interviewed, Dan, it's a husband and wife duo.
Yeah.
And that's what we have here with Red Calling.
Yeah.
Which came first for you guys, the romance or the music, or did it all come together at the same time?
Yeah, it was the music.
It was music first, man.
Yeah.
Javier didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, Jess, we're going to start a metal band today. Let's go out in the garage and get this thing started. I got an idea after I get done with the lawn."
No.
So it was the music first. So how did you guys come about? Give us the scoop.
Well, the two of us were part of another music band. It was it had nothing to do with rock music. It had nothing to do with metal. It was a Latin music band. So this was it a 7-piece, Jessica, or was it an 8-piece?
I think it was 7-piece. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 7-piece, but we were the rockers in that band. But then when that band didn't work out and it dismembered, so we're like, what do we do now? Like we don't want to stop making music. So we look at each other. We're like, all right, we'll just form a newer band. And also my brother, the bass player, our bass player for Red Calling, he was also involved in that band. So it was actually the three of us. We're like, what do we do now? And we're like, all right, let's play what we always wanted to play, which is, heavier music. So that's how we started. Out of that band that dismembered, then, we started pretty much another project, which is Red Calling now.
Yeah, that was back in 2010.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you've been around for about 10 years
10
now.
years.
Wow,
Yeah,
a decade.
Yeah, it was our 10th anniversary last month in February. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. Whoa, that's
And
neat.
it's going to be our 10th marriage anniversary in October. So we got married like 6 months after we started the band.
Yeah, I mean, we started writing music. We started writing music and hanging out, and then it happened, man. I mean, I believe that's how God works, man. Like
Yeah.
he'll send you someone, he'll send you the right person, he'll send you the right friend, business partner or whatever at the weirdest time. Like
Yeah.
he's very unexpected.
Yeah.
You guys complement each other so well, not just musically, but when I was standing in line, I thoroughly enjoyed. That was one of the few times I've thoroughly enjoyed standing in a line, waiting for something.
We had a good time.
We
yeah.
had a really good time, and the energy that you guys had, and just the radiance from both of you while we were talking, and even my wife Deb, she just had a blast standing in line, waiting to get into the venue in the wind and the rain that was outside that remained from the storm that came through. So Red Calling, what sparked that name? What does it mean?
Well, red is a passionate color. It represents passion. And calling, we all have a call in our life, calling in our life. And ours is music. And that's basically the definition of Red Calling.
Very unique name. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, Jess, you do vocals, you play guitar, and you play keyboards. Where, when, and how did this musical journey begin? That's a lot of instruments and a lot of talent.
Yeah, well, I started when I was 4 years old. Well, actually, at the very beginning, I was like 3 years old. I was banging pots and pans on my mom's kitchen.
You ought to bring those out at the next show.
And I wanted to be a drummer, and I actually asked Santa for a drum set, and all I got was like a bongo set, like a conga set.
If you need to discuss that in therapy, we can sit down and talk about that.
I was very disappointed. I was like, what is this? I wanted a drum set. And then I started playing like a ukulele. It's like a 4-string instrument. It's called cuatro, which is 4 in Spanish. And I was 4 years old. And I learned how to play piano when I was like 6 years old. And I grabbed the guitar, an acoustic guitar, when I was 14. And singing, I've always liked to I've been singing all my life. So it was since I was born, it was in me, it was within me.
So the piano lessons, did you go to like structured piano lessons, or was that something that you just learned on your own, or you had a family member that taught you?
I took lessons. Yeah, I had a great teacher. I took guitar lessons and piano lessons, and some vocal lessons too. So I got the chance to learn, here and there with some professionals, but it wasn't, I wasn't very consistent. You know how rockers are,
Totally consistency, yeah.
Yeah.
Javier, how about you with the guitar?
Playing guitar for me started when I was 12, man. Back where I'm from, I remember walking down the street as a kid, and there was this guy that had a music band down the block. And I was walking, I remember listening to an electric guitar for the first time, and I was like, what is that? Like, what is that sound? I really like it. So, I approached them, and as I'm getting closer to their house, I see them jamming. And, dude, it was at that moment I automatically fell in love with electric guitar. Like, it was at that moment I knew I was like, I don't know what that is, but I want to do it forever. Like, I want to know what that is, and just get me one. And I just want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm always doing it.
So what was your first electric guitar then?
Man, it was a very off-brand guitar. so yeah, it was Biscayne guitars. Like I have actually Googled them, and they don't even exist anymore. My grandma bought it for me, so I was like, Grandma gave me an electric guitar. So for about a month, man, I was on her ear about getting me both her and my mom, but then my grandma ended up buying it for me because I was just on their ear, man, 24/7 for 2 months. Buy me a guitar. So they finally told me to get one, and I grabbed it, and I go home, And I was like, why is there no sound coming out of this? Because I didn't know that you needed it.
Oh my God.
But check this out. Then I learned that I had an old stereo. I had an old stereo that had the same hole that the guitar has. I was like, I wonder if I get a cable, I can plug to my stereo. Remember, this is Central America, so it's not like things were very accessible. Like here, you're like, oh, I'm just gonna go and go to Guitar Center and buy me a cable. There's certain challenges growing in another country where buying a guitar cable is difficult. Well, anyways, I go and I buy the cable, and it's then I go home and I realize I got the wrong cable. Oh. So then it took me about 5 months after getting my guitar that I could get sound out of it.
Oh man,
that's so sad.
You know what? We do have to have a therapy session after this. We're going to talk through these things.
Yes.
Can you add some violins to this part?
I think our listeners are going to come up with some good titles for this edition for free toilet paper.
Well, but the good turnout is that I was so grateful that I finally had my guitar going because, the stereo worked. You had like a clean channel that, I was just 24/7, man, just going at it, practicing, watching videos. I was 12, so the internet wasn't like a huge thing. So I was just like watching like music videos. I was like, they put their fingers here. And then when I got here to the States, I was, lucky enough that that's when YouTube came out. And, by that time I was like 16. YouTube had just came out. So there were just all these instructional videos. So, man, I was just looking up videos, looking up tabs. Then after that, moving a few years forward, I was blessed enough to go for a short period of time to a music academy. So I learned some theory at that academy, and yeah, that's pretty much how I learned.
Dan's right. We really are going to need therapy for both of you because here Jess got bongos for Christmas instead of a drum set, and then Javier, your grandmother buys you an electric guitar. I can see the tension building already. No, Dad, I wanted Stretch Armstrong for Christmas, not Fetch the dog. So, Red Calling, Jess, you were sharing with me that your band has a mission that goes beyond just creating quality music, and your music is amazing. The videos you guys have got too, I want to ask about that in a few minutes also, but you go beyond just making music. You have a mission to reach out to people that are lost and hurting and dealing with addictions. Can you share with us that mission of Red Calling?
Yeah, the metal world and the hard rock world, even the rock and roll and the classic rock world, it's full of drug addicts and suicide and negative messages and depression. So we just wanted to be different, and bring some hope. We've had the chance to help some people, some friends, and we noticed once you're in that platform, which is being in a band and playing in theaters and venues, you have power, you have influence, and you can change people's lives, with that in mind, we started writing positive, lyrics, and of course, keeping the metal vibe and, the riffs, the heavy riffs and all that. And we've seen so much people hurting, I had a friend in Venezuela, she committed suicide. She shot herself with a shotgun, and that really impacted me, and she was a very close friend, and it's something that we want to keep doing. And you see a lot of dark stuff in this world. We just want to be a little bit different and make a difference in people's lives.
One thing we always say as a band is, man, I'm a metalhead. I love angry music. I love depressive music. I love that. Like, dude, when I'm working out, like, you should see my playlist, man. Like, it's just like angry music, right? But we just want to be, when it comes to making music, we just want to be that band that is different. I mean, there's nothing wrong with with other bands making angry music. That's fine. I mean, we're friends with a lot of metal bands. We just wanted to be that one band that I can tell our audience, hey, man, it's okay to be angry with listen to angry music. It's fine. But when you want something positive, we are here for you.
Yeah.
So we just want to be that option that people will always have. be like, hey, I want to listen to something very positive today. Hey, let me pop some recalling. They're a bit different.
I did notice that when I've listened to you guys a couple of times, it was uplifting is the way I'd call it, because it was hard, it was beautiful, it was good production quality, everything about it, and I was getting into it, and it had this kind of uplifting, and I don't mean that in a cliche way. It really was. I appreciate it.
There's an uplifting, I would say, ambiance to the music. There's an ambient. The electronic, I think, adds to that. It gives it that lift that you guys have in the music. And I really appreciate what you're doing, because when you talk about heavy music, when you talk about rock and roll, you all probably remember or probably heard back in the 80s how moms were blaming Ozzy Osbourne's music for kids committing suicide. And then, of course, we had the Columbine shooting incident at the high school here in Colorado back in the late 90s, and everybody blamed Marilyn Manson for that. He had nothing to do with that.
No, of course not.
Nothing to do with that at all. So what you guys are doing is you're taking a genre that has been kind of bastardized in a lot of ways, and taking it and putting it and kind of restoring it really, and to something that's positive, and to combat something that is really a real issue. I mean, suicide is a huge, huge issue.
It's so horrible.
It's hideous. I was just taking a look at some stats the other day, and suicide rate since 1997, I believe it was, is up by 33% just in the United States right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is horrible. That's pretty bad.
Horrible. Why do you guys think that is, from your perspective as artists and musicians, and with the interactions that you've had with people? Why do you think people are resorting to suicide, especially youth these days?
Man, I think that social media is isolating a lot of people. And dude, I love social media. I love my phone. I freaking love technology. By no means I'm gonna be that guy. Well, social media is bad, but we cannot hide the fact that some teenagers are getting isolated by social media.
Yeah.
So when they really want to talk to someone, they got they want no one to talk to, because all social media is, for some people, is just appearances.
Yeah.
How look they good? How look they gonna look? They're gonna look in the photo. How many likes they're gonna get? How many comments are they gonna hit? But when they need real help, man, they're struggling with something, it's not something that they're willing to share on social media. So since they have no interaction of any other kind, then I cannot even begin to imagine how lonely people feel when when all their interaction that they have in their life is through social media.
Yes, real connections, real interactions with real human beings. That's declining, and you get depressed. I mean, it's. I'm coming from Spanish culture, and we are very familiar. We love to gather, and have dinner together. And I can tell you that's something that can change your life. I mean, human interaction, and I think that's why people is getting very isolated now.
I think just they feel. I think some people just feel very lonely. That's the bottom line. And they feel like they got no one to talk to.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? It's like under the guise of universal connectivity, 24 hours a day, people are actually being isolated. It's paradoxical.
Isolated.
Yes,
it is an irony. Yeah.
That's a really good point, Javier. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
The lack of human interaction in social media, it can drive you nuts. The things that you see posted there, it drives me crazy how somebody puts up a positive post and you can read the first couple comments on it. And it's like, hey, this is pretty cool. And then all of a sudden it turns into people just dissing each other. It gets really nasty, really. It could be the picture of a kitten, and then all of a sudden everybody's dissing each other, and it goes to that negative. I think what people believe is that they're hiding behind this wall of social media. They just say whatever they want.
Glenn and I have talked about lately, what was it? One of the big movie subscription.
13 Reasons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something coming out on Netflix or one of these, platforms, and it's unbelievably reckless. Like we talked about Marilyn Manson, talked about this. They're kind of glorifying. They are glorifying
suicide.
It's
yes.
horrible.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did a study on that. The suicide rate the month afterwards of that show increased by 28.9%.
Oh yeah, yes, it did.
Is there an outcry?
I did not know that.
They even had to record some announcements, like, telling young people not to take things so seriously, like giving some advice, because it was on the rise.
It just goes to show how the devil, through being the prince and power of the air, just wants people dead.
Yeah.
Put that out there.
Same thing with mass shootings.
Oh yeah.
All this hatred, all this craziness online, on social media. And we actually have a song, if you listen to The Hunter, that's about mass shootings. And it has to do with the same issue, with social media and isolation.
That's why we love our metal family, man. Like, that's why we love going to shows, because you get to meet people. The way we met you guys, man. That's,
yeah.
Like I said at the beginning, man. Like, I love social media, man. I love creating content. That's one of the things I do for a living. I create content for social media. But at the same time, man, we love going to concerts, because you get to interact with people. So I don't know if you guys get this feeling, but when you meet someone at a show, it's like we're family, man. Like we're just rockers, we're just metalheads, and when we go to a show, it feels like, or when we're playing a show, it feels like everybody's family.
Oh, absolutely. My wife got to experience that for the first time that I took her down there to that show, because there were people that were at that show that have been touched by this podcast, that knew me through the podcast and had met me at other shows. And she was just blown away by people just coming up and talking to us. And she had no idea of the
awesome.
Connectivity that happens at those. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about those, is everybody's just real and they connect, and it's a really good time. And I was thinking about it today. I don't think, and maybe she does think about it, you think about Charlotte, who was on stage, Annika, and the guys from Amorphous. They had no idea of the connections that were being made at their show that they put together, the positive connections that were going on. We're going to come in and we're going to do a show in Tampa. I don't know if they just see that aspect of it, or maybe if they'd even get to hear of what was going on there, because there was just so much going on down on the floor with us there. I was there. My wife Deb was there. Our friend Joey Pike from the band Amorous was there. Orlando and Carla from Armor of God, and we were just having a good old time for ourselves down there.
It's like the nicest group of people wearing black t-shirts you'll ever meet. It's like you come up and you think you're going to a metal show, and like everybody's going to be like, hey. Like you're going to get shivved in line or something.
With people looking at us funny.
Yeah, no, and then I remember the first metal show that I went, because I've liked rock, and I was like Radiohead, stuff like that, Pearl Jam. I was kind of into grunge, all that stuff. So I'd been to different shows, but when I first started going to metal shows with Glenn, I was like, I didn't know quite what to expect. And they were the most lovable, nice, genuine people. It was just a whole lot of black t-shirts,
Yeah, that's what I like a lot. That's what I love about metalheads. They're real. I mean, you can get to meet like really dark people, and crazy people, but they're real, and I love that. That's the greatest thing about the hard rock and metal community.
So in other words, there's no BS in metal.
Yeah, no, that's good.
No, you're right. The song that you guys have, Your Lies, I really like that song. I think it's very appropriate for the time that we're living in, because there's so much noise out there that's not true, and it's very hard to filter through. And a lot of people don't realize the effect that lies have on people's psyche, on their mind. Man, I'll never forget. I need therapy now too, Dan.
Okay.
I need therapy. Maybe you guys can help me. I will never forget the morning that my parents sat me down and I was eating a bowl of mini wheats. And they said, Glenn, we have something we need to tell you. I'm like, okay. And they told me that Santa Claus wasn't real.
Oh, man.
And I started to cry. And then I was like, well, what about the Easter Bunny? I was hoping there was a glimmer of hope that at least the Easter Bunny was still real. And they're like, no, the Easter Bunny and not even the Tooth Fairy. And I was crushed. I was crushed because I had, I still like Santa Claus. He's a cool dude.
I'm the only one without a story. I'm feeling too sane of mind
By
here.
the time
I need to show some incivility, get a little attention.
Welcome to Dr. Dan.
Dude, as long as they didn't tell you, by the way, happy 18th birthday.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
He snuck right up on you,
He
Glenn.
did.
You left yourself open with Javier.
I did. But yeah, those were untruths that were supposed to be fun, but it affected me as a child at that time. And
I didn't know that, Glenn. You never,
dude. When we get done and shut down, I'm just going to go sit on the couch downstairs and
think about life.
Think about life and and do that. But lies.
Hey, it's okay to cry.
Yeah.
Real men cry.
There we go.
Yeah.
I could have come up with a story. I guess.
So the song "Your Lies," can you tell us about how that song came about and what it is that you'd like the listener to get from that song?
That's one of the first songs I ever wrote. The lyrics are very confrontational. So it was pretty much me confronting that person or thing that had been lying to me. So it's not like that I'm complaining about people lying, because people will lie no matter what. Situations that rule over your life will lie. So that song is about just be like, hey man, I've taken enough of your lies, so I'm confronting you right now. So whatever that looks like to you, I think, at some point, whatever that big lie in your life is, you gotta stand up and confront it.
Yeah.
And be like, hey man, I'm not taking it anymore. So for some people might be, I don't know. For some people might be our enemy. Some people might be their job. So for some people, man, it may not in our case, but for some people might even be a family member. So I encourage everybody, whatever that, when you know somebody that is affecting you by lying, just confront it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much what the song is about.
Mom and Dad, no.
They lied.
They lied.
Yeah. And for me, when I sing it, because he's the one who wrote it, it does have like a spiritual connotation, like singing against our enemy.
Yes.
Against all of those voices that are trying to, get in your head. And I think that's a way to, fight back like negative thinking and negative thoughts. And, for me, it's a very spiritual song.
That negativity and the lies, they wear you down. They grind you. And I think that might be a contributing factor to why people resort to pharmaceuticals or they contemplate suicide, because of all the negativity that's in the world right now too. And
yes.
What is truth? It's very hard to define. What is truth? Who do I trust? We're looking for somebody to trust, and a lot of times the people that we think that we trust, they turn out to be people that we can't trust.
Yeah.
Disappointments and lies.
Strands of your hands. So much of it's pours, so bites into veins.
I've found my childhood trauma.
What is it?
All right. It's Christmas morning, 1975. I'm 4 years old.
Okay.
And my mom is divvying up the presents. All the kids are around, right? And she was like, "Oh, and this one's for you, Daniel." And I'm like, "Oh, man, this is my present." And she accidentally got my oldest sister's first training bra confused with my present. And so I opened up the present. I'm like, yeah, what is it? And even at the age of 4, I have 4 sisters, so I've grown up around women. I open it up and I pull it out and I go, "A bra!" And I threw it across the room, and the whole family died laughing. And I've never been normal since. My eye is twitching, even talking about the moment. I had that repressed memory that now.
Is there anybody on this podcast today that's sane?
No, it's off the rails. I win the toilet paper.
Yes, you.
You take the prize, man. You're
Yeah. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear anything about bongos or I didn't have a cable. No.
Oh my God.
I got a bra. Brazier.
well, as long as you didn't keep it.
No. Well, I do have some things to confess.
I had to ask.
Nope, all good. Standard T-shirt.
Oh my God. That's funny.
After I met you guys in Tampa, shortly after, you were involved in a pretty bad car wreck. What were some things that God shared with you and showed you going through that? Because that was not a small. That was a pretty big deal.
Well, for me, is that His divine protection is always there, and especially when you're driving on a highway, and a guy that's speeding at 120 miles hits you in the back, and you start spinning, and you hit the concrete wall, and then you keep on spinning, and then you end up on the curve on the right side, and no car or no truck hits you. I mean, I'm like, of course I had some injuries, but I'm alive. I was alive, and then learning I was pregnant before getting the X-rays done.
Wow.
So it's definitely, I've seen God's hand many times in my life, but this one, it's like, okay, you are amazing. You are great.
That's miraculous,
Wow.
Jess.
Yes, it is. It is.
That is miraculous.
Yeah, it was.
It's crazy. And then not only that, I mean, because he hit me at that speed, and then he hit Javier, who was driving in front of me. He was driving a truck with the instruments, because we were coming back from a show. It was 6:30 a.m. And then he hit a third car that he was in front of Javier, and then he hit the concrete wall, because of course he was speeding like a crazy guy. And I don't know, he was alive as well, but I think he was really injured. But it's amazing.
Wow.
I'm very grateful. Yeah.
And from what I understand, it was while you were having the X-rays that you discovered that you've got a new band member on the way.
Yeah. Yes, before having it, because they usually ask you a bunch of questions about your medical history, surgeries and all that, and they ask you if there's a chance that is there a chance you're pregnant, because this is really bad for the baby. And we were looking for a baby for a while. I got the test. I actually got 2 different tests, and both of them came out positive. So
That's awesome.
yeah. I'm 5 months now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we're having a baby girl.
Yeah, we're having a
yeah.
baby girl now.
It's going to be a baby girl?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And what instrument is baby girl going to play? Bongos?
I don't think so.
Oh no, man, she's gonna have to earn those instruments, man.
Yeah.
The same way we did.
Just make sure she gets what she asks for Christmas.
Yeah.
We need
I
to.
know,
No more
I
therapy
will.
sessions.
No more trauma.
No electric guitar without an amp.
That's
Yeah.
like getting a record player with no records to play. Here. You know,
I
Oh
know.
man, that's
Here's your present.
Man. The whole thing was crazy, because it's like something bad happened, because we lost both of our cars. We were injured, like my neck still hurt, but God is good, because in the midst of that, then we learned about this very wonderful news, man. So it was like going from something very negative that happened to us, all the way to something very, very positive, and we're very blessed.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
I'm very happy for both of you. It's going to be a wonderful experience. Just don't buy a diaper genie. I hate those things. No diaper genies.
No.
Dan, you know what I'm talking about.
We never had one.
You didn't have a diaper genie? Good.
so-
Don't buy it. It's disgusting.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it is. Oh. Boy, from toilet paper to diaper genies, where are our minds today? So it's been a really big year for you guys. You also have a new single coming out this month in April. Can you tell us what we're going to be expecting from that?
Yeah, there's a video coming out as well. We're releasing a video same day. You're gonna love the story. We usually do like performances videos, but this one has a story, which I love. And Javier did a lot of the pre-production work and production work, and we work with this guy. He's an amazing filmmaker, and we're very excited about it. The single is called "I Had It All." Well, Javier, you wrote it. You can tell him about the lyrics.
No,
and all that.
I'm not gonna ruin the surprise.
We can keep it a surprise. What is the date that it's going to be released? What day is it coming out?
Oh, that's right, man. So for the people of the future, no, man, I think people are gonna like this song. It's very different for us. We didn't want to repeat, the same style that we had, and we had a great time working with. His name is Thomas Crane. He has this company called Kill Devil Films, and he's just an amazing video producer. He was able to capture our idea. I cannot wait for you guys to see the video. He was able to capture that idea that we had, and execute it. It's exactly the way that the song is intended. So I think people are gonna really like this video.
Yeah, and it's April 24th.
April 24th.
Yes, April 24th. I think it's a Friday. Yeah. It's
Okay.
Friday night. Yeah.
Okay. For our listeners, what I'll do is I'll take that video and post it for them so that they can see it on our social media. We'll repost it on our social media sites as well so that they can see it.
Cool.
Your videos, even the performance ones that you guys have done, are stunning. I mean, they're just really
Thank you.
professionally done. How did you come across that? I know that's not Javier with a camcorder, the VHS-C or 8, the Super 8, making a home video. How did you come across these gifted video producers to get these done?
Well, he's not going to tell you, but he's got a lot to do with, as I say, with pre-production, the stories, the camera angles and all that. He's got a lot to do with that. And of course, we have this guy. He's very talented, and he's able to materialize whatever he had in his mind, and we contribute with some ideas too. And but I gotta give him credit. Javier is really talented in that. That's his one of his talents as a video producer, and we got the chance to work with this guy who really made it real for us.
Yeah, man. Like for our regular videos that you see us posting, that's us just having fun at the studio with the camera, and just being ourselves. But for our music videos, man, these guys, really look him up, and Kill Devil Films. He like I said, for music videos, man, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have some other artists that we work with that would be interested in looking into that as well, because the video aspect, I was one of those, I was fascinated with MTV when I was growing up.
I think we all were.
We were all just fascinated because I'm like, oh, wow, I can see what they're trying to convey. And there were some videos that was like spot on. It's like, okay, yeah, that's what I was envisioning. And then other ones were like, yeah, that ain't even close to what I was envisioning for that song, or didn't even match up to it. And some of them just didn't make any sense.
Or at the time you thought, this is awesome. And then you go back and it's, her name is Rio. And you're like, that's kind of a cheesy video. But I was so into that when I was in the 5th grade.
Dan, to show our age, I turned on PBS the other night and they were doing the telethon.
Yeah.
and it was Duran Duran live on PBS to raise
Oh, I
funds for.
love
Nice.
Duran Duran. I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were a big deal.
They were very innovative for the time. Their music,
They were. Yes.
they weren't pop and they weren't quite rock. They were kind of somewhere in the middle.
And they successfully pulled off a comeback. They really did. And because I was like, Duran Duran. When they were trying to come back later on, and they did it. They pulled it off.
They did. So Jess,
In the 90s. I remember that.
Yeah.
you were a Duran Duran fan, Jess?
Oh, yeah. I loved them. Yes.
Would you agree with me that their B-sides that were never played on the radio were actually better than the Ace stuff?
Well, yeah, some of them, of course. But, of course, you got to consider, it's mainstream music. And, it's like not everybody has the musical ability to appreciate arrangements and stuff, So I agree. I do agree.
All of my kids like Duran Duran.
Do they?
Yeah. They
Do
like
they?
all kind of 80s, 90s music.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Nick Rhodes on the keyboards is the man. I mean, that was my thing. I wanted to be like Nick Rhodes when I was 13.
That is so fun.
I really do need therapy, don't I?
Yeah. I'm going to go rethink my life.
So, for our listeners, for the month of April, Red Calling is our prophetic artist of the month, which means we're going to feature you not just on
Thank
this
you.
podcast, but also on our social media sites. Where can our listeners get some Red Calling merch? You guys got some cool merch. You got dog tags, wristbands, albums, T-shirts. Where can they get it? How can they get it? How can they get your music, and how can they support you?
Well, they can go to our website, redcallingmusic.com. That's where they can get all of our merch, or they can come to a show and say hello and buy it from us.
Yeah. Well, but we'll be playing live probably by late fall this year.
Yeah.
After we have the baby, yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, it's redcallingmusic.com.
Do you
Their
guys
website.
have some dates and venues set up yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
No, right now, it's funny how things work, because we had just done playing a leg of a lot of shows, and then the accident happened, right? So we couldn't play the last two shows out of the whole leg. So the original plan was write music. So that's how God works, man. Like, we're having this baby as we're writing music, so it was a good thing because we couldn't play shows anymore. But we're ready to once we record the music, the re-recording, then we'll be ready to take more shows.
Yeah, we're about to. We already have like 4-5 songs, so we're thinking about releasing an EP, probably by mid-year, probably by summer. We recorded 2 songs, and we have 3 more ready to record. So an EP is one of the things that we have on the works now.
God's timing is perfect with everything, isn't it?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now with all this craziness of coronavirus, of bands canceling concerts, and it's like, okay, I think I was pregnant at the right time, I guess.
Yeah,
Big time.
really. Yeah, God's
Well, wait,
sovereignty.
Coachella Festival was canceled,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of concerts that were canceled.
Welcome to Rockville hasn't. Welcome to Rockville. Like man, we love Welcome to Rockville, that festival. And
Oh,
they're,
yeah.
they're not. Yeah, they haven't canceled yet.
They're still on, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything. Yeah, that's in Jacksonville. Florida.
And when is that one scheduled right now?
That's May. I think it's early May.
Yeah, because you guys were telling me about that while we were waiting in line for the show. You were telling me about
Yeah,
that.
and Metallica was supposed to play 2 dates on that show, like Friday and Saturday, something like that. I don't know why they were scheduled to play 2 days in a row, but yeah, that was the plan.
Well, hopefully this thing will get over soon, and people can get toilet paper again and go to metal shows. That's
Yeah.
First world problem.
the biggest problems from Corona right now. Lack of toilet paper and metal shows not going on. But it's all in God's timing, and it gives you time to be ready for baby to come. That's gonna change things. It really is.
Yeah, I know.
I went through that 4 times over, and Dan, you went through that what?
3
3
times.
times over. So
It's called
you have 4
permagrin.
kids. That's amazing. You have 4
Nice.
kids. I didn't know. That's
Yeah.
cool.
yeah, so it's enjoyable, and you're gonna see the whole world through a different perspective once you have children.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
It
really
is.
Well, guys, thank you so much
this was
for
a lot
being
of
on.
fun.
We've had a good time. We're going to have to do this again sometime. And for our listeners, Red Calling, check out their music, new single coming out, new video coming out April 24th. And if you got questions for us, and if you've got that title for this edition, reach out to us at lithoscry, LITHOSCRY @gmail.com. People will rock out and peace on and rock out or whatever you're going to do.
You really botched that.
I
But
did. That's okay.
Lithoscry.com